Welcome to video 3 in the Gyprock DIY video series, where we'll show you how to measure, cut and install Gyprock Cornice. We'll be showing a standard 90mm cove cornice installation using a miter box for accurate miter cutting. The process is the same for all profiles in the Gyprock Cornice range. For product details along with an interactive cornice visualizer, visit the Gyprock website. We also recommend that you download a copy of the Red Book 2 Residential Installation Guide. As always, make sure you've thought about personal safety for your installation, and here are the tools and materials you'll see used in our project. Measure the width and length of your room to plan out your cornice needs for each wall. Always try to use a single length of cornice for each wall, but if this is unavoidable, lengths can be joined together as a butt joint. Apart from cornice, you'll need Gyprock Cornice cement, available in the DIY range as either a fast-setting dry powder compound or a slower drying pre-mix compound. Larger packs are also available with a choice of a 45, 60 or 90-minute working life. Make sure you store Gyprock Cornice lying down in a covered dry place, away from rain or excess humidity. Any bagged products should be stored in a dry place, not on concrete floors or damp ground. Cornice lengths can be very flexible, so it's best to have two people for lifting and installing. Cutting cornice miters can be a bit tricky, but if you follow these simple steps, you'll have fewer problems. It's a good idea to start with a couple of small test pieces first so you can see how they sit on your cornice. We're using a stepped miter box which caters for various cornice types, but you can also use a little gadget called a Gyprock Miter Master, designed for cove cornice profiles. There is a fundamental difference between internal and external miters to keep in mind. With internal miters, the sealing edge of the cornice is shorter than the wall edge. For external miters, the sealing edge is longer. When you're marking up for cutting your cornice, you'll always be using the wall length, and it's important to know at all times which cornice edge is which. So it's a good idea to mark the edges near where you are going to cut. You can also put a rough diagonal mark in the direction you know the miter will be cut. When you are using a miter box to cut cornice, the main thing to remember is that the sealing edge is always placed along the bottom of the miter box with the wall edge clearly visible at the top. This is because your cutting length marks are always on the wall edge and need to be aligned with the miter box guides at the top for accurate sawing. But it's a bit like working upside down, and concentration is important. Position your cornice so that it sits at 90 degrees to the base and side, and make your cut to suit the miter angle you need. For accurate final measurement for cutting, make sure your test pieces sit correctly on the cornice. Mark along the bottom edge of your cornice and continue this guideline around the room. You'll measure up for your cornice lengths along this line. We're starting with this long cornice piece. First, we'll cut the right-hand end that will sit in the top right-hand corner with an internal miter. Again, for an internal miter, the wall edge is longer, so the cut direction here will be towards the left. This becomes the starting point for marking our length measurement for the left-hand end, which is also an internal miter. For this, we'll cut to our mark towards the right. Check that the cornice piece fits correctly in the space and it matches to your test piece miter. Then put it aside and work on your next piece. Next, we're going to cut the cornice piece for this small return wall. The left-hand end of this piece will have an internal miter, but the right-hand end will need an external miter. Again, mark the edges and angle direction and cut the left end internal miter so the wall edge will be longer. And then mark the wall length along to the right end external miter. Still with the wall edge at the top of the miter box, but this time cutting so the wall edge is shorter than the sealing edge. Continue to cut your cornice lengths, making sure that for any butt joints, the edges are cleanly square cut. Then check everything matches up before you start installing. If you're using a dry Gyprock Cornice cement, make sure you know the working life of the adhesive and only mix what you think you can use in that time. Mix with water as per the instructions on the pack to give a smooth, creamy consistency. Working on one piece at a time, butter the cornice by applying a 10mm thick bead of cornice cement to the back of each edge using a broad knife. Using the guideline that you marked on the wall, push the cornice into place firmly. This will hold in place while you lightly tap in a few nails along the bottom and top edges of the cornice to hold it in place while the cement completely sets. Using the joint knife and cornice small tool, immediately clean off any excess cement along the edges. Then apply cornice cement to the miter ends. Repeat this process with the rest of your cornice lengths, cleaning off any excess cement as you go. Once your lengths are in place, clean down with a damp sponge, being careful not to oversaturate the paper face of the cornice or plasterboard. Allow to set and fully dry before removing the nails and lightly sanding excess compound at the junctions. If any of the nail holes are still visible, you may need to fill and sponge these again. Now that your ceiling and walls are lined, joints are set and your cornice is in, you're ready for final decoration. For any questions about your specific project, check with your Gyprock supplier for advice.